All right. Hey guys, and welcome to this episode where we're going to talk about the importance of moving while you're experiencing stress and anxiety. So, my name's Matt Cotty. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Restored Minds and the creator of the AAA Response. And so, in this episode, I want to talk about just movement in general. So, last episode, we talked about the difference between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, and how the sympathetic nervous system is really the activation of that fight or flight. And what your body's doing, essentially, it's taking glucose or sugar and really generating energy to move into that fight or flight and pumping blood into your large muscle groups. And all the various actions of the sympathetic nervous system to help you survive. Now, like we talked about, one of the problems is that our mind can come up with ideas that are scary, and we can go into the sympathetic response when really nothing's happening actually in our life. And that's one of the challenges that we as humans face now, is that, so many people are in this stressed response when they're perfectly safe, right? You could be laying in bed and be perfectly safe, right? But stressed out. And I've been there many times. So, what I want to talk about today is what we can be doing with our bodies. So this work, or this idea, concept, if you will, was really kind of founded by Dr. Peter Levine. And he developed a whole, essentially platform around somatic experiencing, right? And somatic just means body, right? Bodily experiencing. And what he had learned is, by working with trauma, that it's not about talking about the traumatic event again and again and again and again. It's actually about releasing the energy that was kind of trapped in the body that from the traumatic event. And really, kind of to explain this, what we need to understand is that there's obviously different levels of stress that a person can experience. And what we're talking about with trauma is, we're talking about when someone enters into that freeze response. And the freeze response is higher than the fight and flight response. And what happens is the person kind of enters into this state where they just believe they're succumbed to that particular event. And so they don't even try to fight or flight anymore. And when that happens, the huge amount of stress energy essentially kind of gets stuck in the body. And what Dr. Peter Levine found was that by allowing the body to actually move and discharge that stress energy, that actually produced much better healing results than talking about the traumatic event over and over. In fact, in his book, Waking the Tiger, he talks about how when two people can be in the same, very dangerous or life-threatening event, the person that keeps moving is less likely to get traumatized. So moving is important. And because, again, moving still is sending that message to our brain, like, hey, like, I'm not overcome by this. I'm still here. I'm still moving, right? I'm not going to be succumb to this. So when you're feeling, so if we're talking about trauma, the somatic experiencing, and really going to someone who really understands that and is qualified in that. And again, I'm not trained in that. But again, it's just such a, from a animalistic perspective, right, which we as humans are animals, it just makes so much sense when you think about it, right? Animals know how to discharge stress energy. They know how to shake off stress, right? We as humans, we don't shake because it's more socially unacceptable to start just shaking in a meeting. People are going to look at you, right? And ask you if you're okay, when really it's a completely normal response. So that's why things like trauma releasing exercises by Dr. David Berceli are really interesting kind of, modality coming into OCD, anxiety, and stress treatments, as really incorporating the body into this. It's not just a mental thing. There's actually like a bodily part of this healing process. So the somatic experiencing is the first thing I want to talk about. And this is just the idea of really letting your body lead that healing journey. So letting your body do what it needs to do. If you feel that like your arm needs to be moving, just letting that happen, and not overriding it and saying, I need to sit perfectly still. I need to be like this, because that is essentially kind of suppressing that energy. So The first thing that I wanted to talk about was just that somatic experiencing idea, and just offer that again. There's plenty of people you can go to that are trained in that, that if that's something you're interested in pursuing, there's books on it. And if that's a route that you're interested in, I definitely would recommend it. The other thing is just basic exercise, right? And I know it sounds simple. I know you've heard it a million times, but moving and exercising is important, because when you are feeling high levels of stress, again, just plopping down on a chair or a couch and just staying there, it's not good, right? Because that energy, it's in your body, right? It needs to go somewhere, right? So if you're feeling high levels of stress, it's as simple as going for walks, right? I mean, yes, sure, running and cardiovascular is great, but if you're able to just get up and go for a walk, I mean, like, at least you're moving, right? And so just understanding that stress and anxiety is not just about the mental aspect, right? We understand that anxiety, we categorize it as a mental disorder, right? Or, we talk about the mental aspect of it, but really understanding that it's a physical thing as well, right? Like, this physically is happening in our body. So taking that two-pronged approach to this, and really understanding the bodily things that we can do to help ourselves, and starting with this idea of somatic experiencing and even trauma releasing exercises, as well as just regular physical exercise and movement, can be very helpful to our recovery and our healing process. So I just wanted to cover that from a high level perspective today, and just introduce those concepts. And so if you're interested in learning more over at Restored Minds, we cover this more in depth in our programs as well as our coaching calls. So there's a little link down in the description where you can start with a free guide we have, just so you can kind of learn a little bit more about it, because that's a big part of this, is learning what to do with the energy when it's hitting your body. And yes, obviously there's so many other factors that we can go into, but I'm going to save those for another episode, because, I want to talk more and more about the body in this series. And specifically, I'm thinking about going into the vagus nerve, and just understanding how this whole thing is connected, and what we can do from exercise to what we're putting in our body to, gut health, right? Like, there's all these things that kind of move into this. So moving, that's the key thing that I want to introduce in this episode: movement. And things like yoga and qigong are great too, because, again, really opening up the body and allowing for that kind of energy to flow more naturally. Great stuff as well. So hope that was helpful. And if you need more resources for this, please click the little link below. You'll be taken to a page where you can download the guide for free. And obviously, feel free to contact us over at Restored Minds. We have an application for our programs that you can complete, and schedule a consultation call if this is something that you're struggling with and need help with. So thank you so much for hanging out today, and I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Thank you so much for watching that video. And so if you're struggling with OCD and anxiety, I just wanted to let you know that we have a free training for you over at Restored Minds, where you can start learning how to use our AAA response to really break out of that loop and ultimately take back control of your life. And all you need to do to access is just click the little link below, and you'll be taken to a page where you can register today. Thank you so much.